All right, man. What'd you just do?
I just top 8'd Nationals with Amaryllis.
Nice. Let's get into the deck profile.
Sounds good. Let's see. So, Plane Engine, pretty standard. You got triple Amaryllis, triple Titanial, your 2 Lone Fire, 2 Dandy. I played the bot line still, and I also played Lord Poison for reasons we'll get into a bit later.
Okay.
Shout out my fiance, Tiffany. I was struggling with playing this over something else, and I went up to her. She doesn't know much about Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm like, do I play this or this? And she said play the bot line, and it won me a match. So shout out to Tiffany.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Next for the Millers, I played 2 Lila, 1 Raikou. Honestly, I was close to cutting both Raikou because the deck plays way too many normal summons, and a big thing I wanted to do with the deck is find more ways to special and mitigate those dead hands of just I have 4 or 5 monsters and I can't do anything. It was still good, but I feel like there's a world where I cut this. And then I played the Card Trooper. For your mill targets, I played Plague and Necro. Another card I was close to cutting, I feel like, was Plague. I tried to find different ways to convert off of it because just having Mark of the Rose didn't seem like enough. So I made some changes to the deck to kind of make this a bit more impactful. Utility cards, I played Debris Dragon and I played Cyber Valley. This was part of the justification for keeping Plague Spreader in, is by playing this, it gives you a reason to play BrainCon in the main, which I do play.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I just wanted to provide more ways to convert off of Mark of the Rose and to make Plague Spreader more valuable. And I feel like playing the second thing that you can BrainCon opponent's monster, do something with it. I feel like Cyber Valley was just fantastic all day when I drew it. So yeah, it was really good.
Nice.
And then for the weird part of the deck, I played 1 Stratos and 1 Destiny Hero Dasher.
Okay, what's the reasoning behind those?
So again, I wanted to find ways to special summon as much as possible in this deck. And obviously people who play the deck, they know Lone Fire Dandy, you can go crazy. So when you open the Foolish and the Lone Fire going first, it's very wild. Well, this gives you access to Elemental Hero Gaia and Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. And being able to send the Dandelion to make Gaia gives you another way to send your Dandy early, so you can kind of combo off turn 1. The Stratos is kind of self-explanatory. It's a +1. Like if you draw it, like it's not great, but it always is 1800 when he's on the field and he searches monsters. So at worst, it gets you another card to discard for your discard traps. And the reason I played Dasher, originally I was going to play Alias, but then it got back to the point of like I don't want too many normal summons. And Dasher is a card that it lets you convert off of Mark of the Rose and BrainCon because you don't play 1 tribute monsters, you only play 2 tributes with Titanial and Amaryllis. So it gives you a way to convert off of that, still monster tribute summon. And when you do mill it, you play so many monsters that just sit in your hand, stuff like Titanial, stuff like that, that out of nowhere you could draw for turn, draw a Titanial. Normally that'd be a dead draw, but all of a sudden you're summoning the Titanial for free. And then opponents don't see it coming. I actually had a guy who dust shooted me, and I had a Lone Fire in hand and a Stratos, and he got really scared and he put the Stratos back, which for me, I know it doesn't do much, but people see this and they don't know what to think because all of a sudden they're like, well, this isn't just your regular Amaryllis build, what's going on?
That's crazy.
So I kind of messed with people's heads all day when they would see these. And actually in my round 9, game 3, I stacked Titanial for Plague, BrainCon, the Soul of Purity and Light, made a Stardust. Next turn, drew the Titanial, Dasher, summoned it out, and went for game.
That's gross.
Yeah, so it came up quite a bit. Yeah, it is sometimes a dead draw in your hand, but I mean, like, if you're playing Amaryllis, you expect those dead draws. You expect to have hands with Titanials and Amaryllises anyway. So it's like, in my mind, it's like the payoff for it was so worth it. And if I'm playing the heroes, there wasn't another hero that made more sense than Dasher. So
Gotcha.
yeah. And onto the spells. Played 3 Trade-In, pretty simple, standard. 2 Miracle Fertilizer. I wanted to play 3, but part of this deck is trying to mitigate the number of bad hands you draw going first in your opening hands, and this card isn't live until it is. Like, it doesn't do anything on its own starting off a duel, so seeing it too often or in certain hand combinations, it's bad, but Obviously, it's crazy. Like, you want to see it, so you still play the 2 of it. You don't want to just mill your 1 of and then not have access to it. But I think there's a world you can play through. I didn't want to see it too early, so 2 of those. Next, 1 Hidden Armory, and then I played Mark the Rose DDR and Brain Control in the main, which I know isn't the standard ratios people play. Again, this goes back to this deck opens poor hands sometimes. Like, you just play level 8s and people are like, oh, like, you play Amaryllis, like, do you ever just open all level 8s? And it's like, yeah, you do, but also sometimes you open 2 level 8s, a DDR and a Hidden Armory going first, and now you have a dead card because you have nothing banished. You have a card that stops you from making any normal summon, or a card that's dead if you have to normal summon, and your 2 level 8s. So it's like these cards often, I found in testing, were clogging up my hand. And by cutting this down to 1 and still playing the DDR, I felt like I was never without them, but I also wasn't opening hands where I bricked on them. And like there were games for sure this weekend where I opened DDR in my opening hand and it sat there the whole game pretty much. It didn't get used. So I feel like I made a good call with this. I was happy with it. I know some people might disagree, but there's that. And then to make up for the stealing, I main deck the BrainCon instead of side decking it. Again, I play the Cyber Valley and Plague, and then also now the Dasher, so I have tons of ways to convert off of this, so it was good all day.
Nice.
Yeah. Next for the Millers, I played Charged and Foolish. And then for the spicy ones I know people were talking about, I played Reasoning.
Crazy card.
Yeah, this card was crazy all day. You play so many different levels. And you only really have like 1 monster you don't want to hit with it, and that's the Raikou, which is another reason you could justify cutting it. I guess Debris sometimes isn't the best, but if you have Dandy tokens out or you have access to Dandy, like hitting a 2k defender that also can make a synchro play isn't that bad. But going first blind, people often call 4, if not 8. There's no bad hits. Pretty much. Like if they call 3 and you mill a Dandy, you still get the tokens. If they hit Lone Fire, okay, now I have a Lone Fire engraved for Miracle. If they call 8 and you hit the Amaryllis, it doesn't summon out or whatever, but I just milled an Amaryllis for free. Same with Titanial. And if they don't call 8, sometimes you just hit a Titanial off it, and now they're staring down at 2800 that they can't deal with. And it's very out of nowhere. And again, this was to help with the deck's issue of too many normal summons. I never felt like I was sitting there with a handful of monsters not being able to play, because this normally would have been something else that just did nothing. And every time I drew this, it was live. Every time I drew this, it helped me. I would never play Amaryllis without it moving forward.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I have the wrong deck there. And then to go with the heroes, obviously I played the Future Fusion. Which again, I only saw this card like twice. Unfortunately, I just didn't see it too much this weekend, but both times I saw it, my opponent thought it was an immediate threat, and I kind of treat it as a way to send a plant to grave more than anything, because no matter what you summon, you're either sending Dandelion or Lord Poison, so it fills your grave with 1 plant at least, and then if you send the Dasher as well when you're making Absolute Zero, because you need to use Stratos if you make Gaia. But it was just always good, and when it's on board, they feel the need to MST or heavy it because they're scared of getting an Ab Zero out or getting the Gaia out. And in reality, I really don't care if it hits the board because it already did what it had to.
Right.
And it like there was a game where someone MST'd my Future Fusion, and then next turn I activated Miracle Fertilizer, and I won the game. Like it makes people play, I feel, incorrectly into what I'm actually trying to accomplish. They think I'm trying to do something else. So that was pretty good. And then I played heavy in the main, and that was it for the spells. MST, I side deck. For the traps, another big change. I chose to main 3 Karma Cut.
How come you picked Karma Cut over like Raigeki Break or Wing Blast?
So with Wing Blast, it's good that you can stack and put your opponent back a turn, but I found that with Amaryllis, it's not always aggressive at all times. Like sometimes you're playing very defensive and the deck is slow and you're setting up your grave and you're trying to wait for the right mills to actually make a push. So spinning back a set Raikou or whatever, or a back row, it doesn't always benefit you the way you think it is. Like, yeah, you set them back one turn, but like next turn they're going to set the Raikou, and if you haven't done anything with that advantage, like that extra turn to kind of set up, like you're just sitting there in the same position you were. And against some decks like Blackwings and stuff, it just feels like it's not good. And Blackwings being one of the harder matchups, I wanted to improve and play cards that were better. So like hitting a Blackwing normal summon is great, because if they summon Shura, you banish. All of a sudden they have Blizzard in hand, it's dead. They can't do anything with it. It's obviously great into Frogs. Vayu, you hit the Synchros, and then they have to Burial to get Vayu live again. I expected Amaryllis to be pretty popular, so in that matchup, it's pretty good and pretty crazy to have in game one. And yeah, it was good all day. Yeah, you sacrifice not being able to hit back row, but I never felt the need for it. You play the 2 Lila, you play heavy, and I play a bunch more back row hate in the side deck, so it was just good all day.
Nice.
Yeah. And then for the last 2 traps, I played Trenchel, Mirror Force, and I played the Scrap Iron Scarecrow. This is just, it's really good. It stops Sirocco pumping up a Bora or an Armed Wing and getting OTK'd out of nowhere. If you see it going first against Glad Beasts and they only have the 1 Glad Beast up, it stops them from getting going. And anytime you open this with Lila or Card Trooper, it basically says that card mills 6, unless they go full combo or do something crazy. So getting this out early, and again, it's a card that warrants hate from an MST, which then makes my Miracle Fertilizer stronger. So I really like this card. It was very good.
Nice.
Yeah, a 42 card main deck. Like I said, I think maybe going forward I would cut the Raikou, make it 41, get a little bit more consistent, but that's that. Shout out Fruccio behind the camera for these beautiful tokens. Awesome, love seeing them. For the extra deck, for the fusions, I played the Gaia and the Ab-Zero. Again, if you summon them, great, that's awesome, like they benefit. Like obviously they're both really good monsters, but they're mostly there for the dumping of future fusion, and that's it. And then I played Chimera Tech for the side. Catastor and Android, I made, I think, Catastor once. The extra deck doesn't really come up too much in this deck, which is part of the reason why I feel Plague doesn't need to be in there, but Brado, Tempest, Goyo, Iron Chain. Black Rose is pretty much what you make all day with Debris Dragon. That's like the most common thing you go into. You got Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then Stardust is the other big target you summon a lot with your tokens and Debris. So those 2 came up a few times, but nothing too crazy. And then I played Thought Ruler, Colossal, and Dark End. Funny enough, you actually can now make this because you play Dasher. So if you ever summon out Dasher off of a Reasoning, you can just go into Dark End without having to steal like a Caius or something. So that's kind of funny. It didn't come up. Yeah, it didn't come up this weekend, but in theory you can actually make it. So kind of cool. Another side I'm pretty pumped about. Me and Fruccio and my buddy Marco, like we were doing a lot of testing for the weeks leading up, and we got some pretty cool inclusions. First, the monsters. We got the 2 Cyber Dragons, just good for Glad Beasts, and I thought I might see more Machina. I didn't run into any. I actually had some pretty weird matchups throughout the day.
You played a couple of Glad Beasts this weekend, eh?
I played 3 Glad Beasts, including in top 8 where I lost, but we'll get into that after. But yeah, Cyber Dragon, really good. I decided in going second into like Blackwings and stuff, or going into Glads. These help big in the Glad matchup, so I'm glad I had both. I played the 2 Consecrated Light. I originally had 3, but I ended up cutting the 3rd for a spell that's also on the side, so I'll get to that after. This card is just crazy. I'll talk about it after, but this into Blackwings is just unfair. And then you played the Aaron. I was thinking about cutting this because like it's really good into like zombies and fairies, like decks that play like all the recruiters and stuff, but I felt weird when I cut it, so I put it back in. It was good. It came up a couple times. This replaced the 3rd Consecrated. So the reason for 1-for-1 is people might think Deck Devastation is good into your deck, and sometimes that's true. It can be with Debris Dragon and Lone Fires and stuff, but if they're siding in Deck Dev, this helps. And then whenever I side in Consecrated Light, I also side in Royal Decree. And when I side in Royal Decree, I'm taking out 1 or 2 Karma Cuts. So this helps keep your discards high. And being able to 1-for-1 pitch a Dandy, summon a Consecrated, or pitch an Amaryllis or a Titanial.
Foul.
Yeah, it gets kind of silly. Like, it helps set up your plant plays on top of getting a Consecrated out, and you get to, once again, like I said, your special summoning. You're not wasting your normal summon and sitting on a handful of monsters. So, unreal card all day. Every time I saw it, I think I won the game. So it's fantastic. MST, still wanted to play it, so I just put it inside. Lightning Vortex, really good. I didn't really see it too much, but I did win a game off of a Glad Beast player because I drew this, so that was pretty awesome. And then probably the card I was most excited about and didn't get to play because my matchups all day were not what I was expecting, but I actually played the 2 Ancient Forest. Shout out to the guy behind the camera for this one. We were testing and I was sitting there, I'm like, I don't know, like I'm trying to find something to help with like the top 3 decks, the Vayu, Blackwing, and Hero Frogs, and this card into Vayu is just absurd. Like, in testing, I don't think I dropped games to Vayu with this card on the field. So it's just wild. So like, we got this from, there was a top 4 Glad Beast, I forget his name, but he top 4'd YCS Indy this year, and he had this on the side, and that's where Fruccio saw it. And we're sitting there talking about it, and it's like, I have so many cards that sit on the field in defense, like Lilas that have been used to pop a back row, Dandy tokens, defense position lone fires that were summoned out. You have so many things that it's very easy to just trade with, and they just like, you summon a Sure attack over it, or summon an Arm Wing attack over it, summon Vayu, whatever. But if you play Ancient Forest, all of a sudden you have to debate, like, am I going to summon an Armed Wing and trade into a Lila and lose the Armed Wing? No, you're not going to. So the Lila stays more protected. You get more mills out of it. It flips up Raikos and Hamsters, in theory, if you see it going second. Which
it doesn't trigger their effects, right?
It doesn't trigger their effects, so all of a sudden they just sit on that. And the cherry on top is that if you see this card once your plan engine's going and you have the Amaryllis, you don't care about the effect of destroying because you crash your Amaryllises to clear their board. They're going to destroy themselves anyways from their effect. So you can sit there and be aggressive under this and whittle down your opponent's life points and then go for a final push with like a Titanial or something. Also really good with Mark of the Rose and BrainCon because you can steal an opponent's threat and then attack with it and destroy it.
So gross.
In testing, I took someone's Grand Mole that was being a problem, took it, attacked, got rid of the Grand Mole. That was awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't see a single Vayu player, and I expected I would see a lot more than that, so I didn't actually side this in once, and I'm pretty disappointed that that was the case. I was very excited and hyped about this inclusion, but I think it's really good. If you're expecting a lot of Vayu, it makes sense. And then for the traps, welcome to Floodgates. We played 2 Decree, 2 Skill Drain. These cards are responsible for me winning like probably 4 of my matches in Swiss. The only reason I beat 2 Glad Beast players in Swiss was Skill Drain, and the reason I beat Blackwings in Swiss was Royal Decree. It's this with a Consecrated Light, they can't do anything. They need to open Heavy Storm or MST, and even then, like, you still have the Consecrated Light on field. And Skill Drain into Glads, I was looking for something that was super impactful into Glads, but I didn't want to side specific cards for Glads. I wanted something that was more generic, so this obviously good into like the Hero Frog matchup. It can still do some damage, and maybe into some like random rogue decks, like this would be pretty good. I can't think of any, but this felt better than playing like just pulling the rug for frogs, or at one point I was siding 1 Bestiari and I had Gazeris for the Glad Beast, but then I thought there's no way I play that many Glad Beasts, and sure enough, round 1 Glad Beasts, and top 8 I played Glad Beasts. So maybe in hindsight I would have put a Bestiari in my side deck, but these were amazing all day. Wouldn't change them. Would only play them moving forward. So, and then the Dust Tornado. This was just like the 15th card. It felt good. Again, my deck struggles in the Blackwings, and this is good against Blackwings. So,
nice.
Yeah. So,
all right, man. Any closing thoughts, shoutouts?
Shoutouts. Shout out Fruccio behind the camera, my buddy. My other 2 buddies in the hotel right now. We got Marco and Adam. A couple guys from Windsor, Ontario. Fun traveling with them. Fun to be around. Really good weekend. Shout out again, my fiance, back home, being cool with me. Dipping to Austin, Texas for a little bit while we're planning a wedding and just bought a dog and stuff. So love her. Shout her out. And I guess shout out Lil Man Yu-Gi-Oh and Carpath for bringing this deck to the light and making it so popular. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice, awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.